to be around and have had paid certain dues, old school tattooers, and learned how to work this shit so that I was ready for what people came up with and said, well, yo, let's do like this or let's do that, and I was like yeah, okay, you know, let's push it.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because it's like seeing how you work and what you do on people's bodies. You know, it's sort of like some kind of a craftsman, artist, artisan century where, you know, sometimes people tell you exactly what they want, and other people give you more. They want your input more as an artist than as a craftsman. But is there ever anything like you refuse or you wouldn't tattoo?
You know, for a long time I had that the privilege of being kind of like in a prima donna position where I could pick and choose my customers. You know, now there's so much available information out there. Maybe I've contributed to that pool in certain ways, and it's like now there's all this out there. I mean, people pick and choose. Basically, you know, I see myself as a craftsman. You know, I gotta put my shit down right, whether it's in accordance with aesthetics or not. And there's those special occasions where somebody just says, you know, I know your work, I like it, I like what you do, just here's what I want, let's do it. And just sit back and let me go off. But, you know, for the most part, you know, I consider myself a craftsman, you know, who's in a servicing situation. I gotta, you know, sometimes take a project that's, you know, not very promising and making it something that's going to be right. And there's a lot of compromising, and it took me a lot of years to learn how to put it all together so that everybody's happy, because, you know, I got to be happy with what I'm putting down.
Yeah, it must be scary because you're putting something on someone for, you know, their whole life. So,
well, for me, it's mine. I mean, I don't mind, and they don't matter at a certain point, you know. I mean, once you're there, the needle hits the skin, you know, you're in my hands, you know, so you better know where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched you work, and I know sometimes you don't even necessarily like what the tattoo is, but you always do a really beautiful job. Like, it's always, you know, it is like a craftsman.
You got to make the best out of what you got to work with, you know. You do the best with what you got at hand. And, you know, it could be something that's totally retarded, but, you know, it doesn't matter, because that other person, to them, it's like a serious statement, and, you know, I respect that. And have to work within a lot of limitations, but then sometimes, you know, people come to you and they say, like, you know, I know your work, I've seen your shit, you know, down, you know, and that's when the magic happens a lot of times. And then sometimes it just comes out of left field, you know. You just get to do what you might think something's going to be totally prosaic, you know, everyday garden variety project, and it just blossoms into some beautiful thing, you know. But no matter what, you know, you got to be ready to put it down and put it down right. There's you know, there's no in between.
What do you, I mean, you're not like a predictor of the future, but what do you see, since tattoo art and like body art is so pervasive now in a certain, you know, generations in our culture, do you think it'll stay like that, or do you think there'll be a reaction and people will not, there'll be a generation that like rejects tattoos just so they don't look like their parents? Or?
Oh, that's a likely scenario, but you can go there because, like you said, I don't know what's coming down the pike, but I can say that I've seen this thing go from one thing to another and come back to another, and it's all about that, you know. It's tattooing is very interactive. I mean, it's like the most interactive folk art that I know, and this goes down through the centuries. I mean, in primitive cultures, tattooing meant one thing to certain people. After the Industrial Revolution, tattooing became kind of like a statement for outsider-type people in a world that was growing real quick. And now tattooing is, you know, I think it's reached some kind of a peak. I think, you know, on one level it's trendy, on another level it's always been there. It's like saying, like, you know, where does music come from? I mean, it comes from cavemen throwing rocks against the wall and listening to, you know, to a beat. You know, tattooing's been around. It's going to be there. It's going to be there in one form or another, as long as people have that primal need to make some statement real personally, their commitment to mark themselves. I mean, it's some real primal shit. People, you know, look at tattoos and they hear jungle drums, because, you know, that's the roots of the matter. As far as where it's going from here, God only knows.
Yeah, well, it's not going away, that's for sure.
Oh, it ain't going nowhere.
Even if it peaks, it'll always be. Maybe it'll be more interesting when it goes back to being more of an outsider type thing.
I think a lot of people are going for this, you know, like so-called tribal tattooing, because, you know, it's like they're yearning to find their way back to like something real simple and real primal and real, like, you know, like having to do with their roots as human beings. And that's one place where tattooing sort of crosses all boundaries and ties all segments of people together. You know, it's a very unifying art form. And, you know, that's because it speaks to a basic need. History, you know, the history is there. I mean, the history of tattooing is there, and that's the kind of shit that I want to delve a little deeper into in this.
Yeah, it'd be great if you visit different cultures and investigate, you know, just I mean, I know you already have investigated all that.